Seeds of Peace. Revolutionary Ideas to End Wars and Unite the World. Chapter 1. Global Empathy Exercises. Walking in another's shoes. What if world leaders could see the impact of war through the eyes of those who suffer its consequences? Imagine if they could truly feel the weight of displacement, the despair of loss, and the hope that flickers in even the darkest moments. Global Empathy Exercises, a revolutionary approach, aim to bridge the empathy gap by placing leaders in immersive virtual reality (VR) experiences that allow them to witness the suffering and resilience of war victims. Through VR, leaders could engage in a transformative journey, walking, if only briefly, in the shoes of the people whose lives are altered by the decisions they make. The concept: creating a shared human experience. Global Empathy Exercises leverage VR technology to create experiences that go beyond speeches, reports, and numbers. By simulating the lived reality of war victims, refugees, families torn apart, children navigating rubble-strewn streets, these exercises confront leaders with the human consequences of conflict in a visceral, unforgettable way. VR can transport participants to places they may have only heard about: a war-torn neighborhood, a refugee camp, or a relief shelter. They can interact with these environments as if they were truly there, allowing them to feel, if only in part, what it means to live in a world shattered by violence. In this virtual world, leaders might walk through the ruins of a destroyed village, listen to the stories of survivors, or experience the desperation of finding food and shelter in a crisis. They would witness children's classrooms reduced to rubble and families huddled together for warmth, experiencing a reality far removed from diplomatic negotiations. This deep, personal encounter with war's toll is designed to awaken empathy, compassion, and a drive for peace. A real-life inspiration: empathy through VR and humanitarian aid. The Red Cross and United Nations have already begun using VR to shift public perception around conflict. One VR project takes viewers through a simulated experience of life as a refugee in a war zone, helping them understand the scale of the crisis. Participants leave these experiences profoundly moved, with a newfound understanding of the stakes and an appreciation for the urgency of humanitarian aid. For politicians and policymakers, this effect could be magnified, pushing them toward policies that prioritize peace over power struggles. For instance, consider the story of Amina, a young Syrian girl whose life changed when her home was destroyed. Forced to flee with her family, she faced hunger, loss, and instability every day. A global empathy exercise could place leaders in Amina's world, guiding them through her challenges, her fear, and her resilience. Such a journey might remind leaders that behind every refugee statistic is a real person with dreams, strengths, and a longing for peace. Potential impact: why empathy could transform decision-making. Empathy exercises could be a game-changer in peace negotiations. Leaders who undergo these experiences may find it harder to make decisions that lead to conflict, having faced, however virtually, the suffering it brings. This perspective shift is crucial. When leaders feel connected to the people their decisions affect, they are more likely to act with compassion and consideration. Empathy fosters a sense of global responsibility, reminding leaders that their choices extend beyond borders, languages, and politics. In the face of the shared human experience, it becomes easier to see peace not as an ideal, but as a moral imperative. Empathy exercises can also benefit those working on peace-building efforts, from diplomats to grassroots activists. By understanding the human stakes at play, they are better equipped to advocate for peaceful resolutions and to find common ground with opponents. Empathy softens divisions, and this is precisely what the world needs to move from hostility to harmony. Making it happen: turning vision into reality. To bring global empathy exercises to life, we would need collaboration across various sectors: technology, diplomacy, and humanitarian organizations. Partnerships with tech companies could help develop high-quality, realistic VR simulations that accurately portray the realities of war-affected areas. Meanwhile, Governments and international bodies could introduce empathy exercises as part of standard training for diplomats, military leaders, and policymakers, embedding compassion into the structures that guide global decisions. Nonprofits and advocacy groups could also play a key role by creating public demand for empathy-driven leadership. Imagine if citizens across the world voiced their support for leaders to participate in these exercises. With enough momentum, empathy exercises could become a norm rather than a novelty, shaping future leaders to approach conflict with compassion and a commitment to peace. Call to action. Advocating for a more compassionate leadership. You, the reader, can be a part of making empathy exercises a reality. Support organizations that work on VR projects for humanitarian causes, and share the idea with friends, colleagues, and on social media. If you're passionate about seeing more compassionate leadership, let your voice be heard. Write to local representatives, call for global empathy exercises at major summits, or join campaigns that promote empathy in decision-making. Imagine if, before making any decision about military intervention, a leader had to experience the life of someone affected by their choice. How might this shape our world's approach to conflict? Reflection. A vision of peace. Imagine a world where leaders felt a sense of duty not just to their own citizens, but to humanity as a whole. What if leaders across the globe saw the shared humanity in every decision they made, working together to prevent suffering instead of wielding power? Empathy exercises can bring us closer to that vision, creating a world where decisions are made not from a distance, but with a compassionate understanding of their consequences. Through this journey, we invite you to think of the leaders in your own life, whether on a global, national, or community scale, and consider what would happen if they approached every decision with empathy at the forefront. Could we, as a collective humanity, take steps toward peace by insisting on leadership that feels, listens, and acts with compassion? This chapter, like the entire vision for Seeds of Peace, invites you to imagine, advocate, and believe in a world where peace is not a distant dream, but a practical goal built on shared understanding. Together, we can plant the seeds of empathy that grow into lasting peace, one decision at a time. Chapter 2. Gamifying peace negotiations. Turning diplomacy into play. Imagine a world where peace negotiations feel less like tense standoffs and more like a collaborative, game-driven experience. Picture global leaders, diplomats, and decision-makers engaging in interactive scenarios that bring both the devastation of conflict and the benefits of peace to life. By playing out these scenarios through the power of artificial intelligence and gamification, leaders could explore alternative futures and experience firsthand the outcomes of their decisions. This innovative concept of gamifying peace negotiations could change the way we think about diplomacy, encouraging a deeper commitment to peaceful solutions. The concept: AI-driven simulations for negotiation. Gamifying peace negotiations involves using advanced AI to create realistic, interactive simulations that allow leaders to experience the impact of both conflict and cooperation. These simulations wouldn't just be simple video game setups. Instead, they would be sophisticated, data-driven models incorporating economic factors, environmental outcomes, social stability, and human lives affected. Leaders could play through various scenarios, seeing how different actions, such as imposing sanctions, forming alliances, or initiating a ceasefire, would unfold over time. Through AI simulations, each decision could trigger a series of ripple effects. For example, a choice to initiate a military strike might lead to environmental devastation, economic downturns, and strained alliances, while a choice to negotiate peace could result in increased trade, improved public health, and cultural exchange. In a gamified setting, these consequences would be vividly illustrated, giving leaders an opportunity to experience the human costs of conflict and the shared rewards of peace. Why gamification? Lessons from play games have a unique way of teaching us. In a game, every action has a reaction, and players quickly learn that impulsive choices come with consequences. Diplomacy is often far more abstract, where decisions are made based on reports, spreadsheets, and projections rather than on direct experience. Gamification brings immediacy and tangible outcomes into the picture, making the choices more personal and, ideally, more responsible. Take the example of disaster response simulations used by emergency workers. Through these gamified exercises, participants can practice disaster management skills, understanding what works, what doesn't, and how to react in real time. Similarly, peace negotiations could adopt this gamified approach, offering leaders a safe space to explore the complexities and risks of their choices without the real-world cost. A real-world example: simulating diplomacy for empathy and insight. Several organizations are already experimenting with AI-driven simulation tools that bring leaders face-to-face with the realities of war and conflict. For example, the United Nations has used a crisis simulation game that allows participants to navigate the challenges of managing refugee crises, balancing resource allocations, and maintaining peace. Participants often leave with a profound sense of how complex these issues are, gaining empathy for those impacted by their policies. Imagine if such simulations were adapted to high-stakes peace negotiations. A leader who feels the difficulty of sustaining a refugee camp hears virtual voices of those impacted by conflict, or witnesses the rapid economic decline triggered by war, might approach negotiations with greater empathy. Through immersive experiences, diplomacy becomes more than an intellectual exercise. It becomes a moral responsibility. Potential impact. Why gamified peace talks could be transformative. By experiencing the ripple effects of their decisions, leaders could be encouraged to seek peace with newfound urgency. Gamifying peace negotiations could offer several transformative benefits. 1. Humanizing the consequences. In a typical negotiation, the immediate focus is often on power dynamics, territory, or economic interests. A gamified simulation would bring human faces to the table, showing the leaders the lives affected by each choice. This shift could inspire decisions driven by compassion rather than calculation. 2. Encouraging collaboration. Multiplayer simulation formats could encourage leaders to work together, exploring cooperative strategies that yield mutual benefits. This kind of collaboration could reveal new pathways for peace that might not emerge in traditional negotiation formats. 3. Highlighting long-term thinking. In gamified scenarios, the immediate impact of a decision might be positive, but the long-term consequences can be detrimental. Leaders would experience this in real time, promoting a mindset of long-term responsibility and caution. 4. Creating safe spaces for experimentation. Negotiators could try bold ideas without real-world risks. Gamified negotiations provide an opportunity to test unconventional solutions, like integrated peace-building missions or joint economic initiatives, to see how they might play out. Making it a reality. Steps to implement gamified negotiations. To bring this vision to life, we need cooperation across technology developers, governments, and peace organizations. Here are a few practical steps. Develop partnerships with tech innovators. By partnering with AI and game development companies, international organizations could create robust, interactive platforms for peace negotiations. These platforms would be built to model real-world complexities while remaining engaging and accessible. Create a standardized simulation program for diplomats. Much like diplomats undergo training in cultural sensitivity, they could also train in a gamified platform to practice peace negotiation skills. This standardized program could be hosted by institutions like the United Nations or the World Peace Organization. Integrate simulation exercises in policy training. Encourage policymakers and government advisors to participate in these simulations regularly. By making it a required part of policy training, governments can ensure that future leaders are prepared to consider the human impact of their decisions. Call to action. Advocate for gamified peace initiatives. If this vision resonates with you, there are ways you can support the development of gamified peace negotiations. Share the idea with organizations that work on international diplomacy and peace initiatives. If you have experience in tech or game design, consider contributing your skills to organizations aiming to make peace negotiations more interactive. Every voice, every action counts in creating a world where leaders are driven by empathy and understanding. Reflection activity. Imagine you had the power to design a scenario in a gamified peace negotiation platform. What would it look like? Would you focus on highlighting the effects of economic sanctions, the devastation of military action, or the healing impact of cooperative policies? How might your design help leaders see the world through a more compassionate lens? A vision for the future. From play to peace. It's not enough to hope for a peaceful world. We need innovative ways to help leaders understand the true stakes of their choices. Gamified peace negotiations offer a bold step in that direction, blending technology and empathy to create a more compassionate form of diplomacy. Imagine a world where every leader experienced the trauma of conflict and the triumph of peace. Virtually, yes, but deeply and vividly. Such a world could inspire not just the desire for peace, but the resolve to pursue it. Through this chapter and beyond, Seeds of Peace invites you to dream big. Peace is not just the absence of war, it's the presence of understanding, compassion, and courage. Let's plant these seeds by calling for a new, empathetic, and interactive path to diplomacy. Together, we can turn peace from an ideal into a practiced reality, one scenario at a time.